Some of your destinations have errors. Okie dokie. It was fine yesterday, not today, Deb. All right, it'll get on my page eventually. I don't know. StreamYard is what StreamYard is. I don't get it. Just used it yesterday. It was fine. So we'll get it streamed over to my page and shared out to GBR and just let some people jump on. And just want to thank you again for doing this. And we've come to know you. It's been about a year or so, I think, since we met you, and you've shared some stuff with us and everything, and we feel like we've grown with you and have wanted to keep up to tabs with you and stuff like that. And it's great that you're sitting down with us tonight, sharing your story with us. So I thank you.
Absolutely.
Everybody tuning in, this is Amber Trip Ramirez. We call her Trip. And like I said, we had the honor of and pleasure of meeting her about a year ago. Really don't want to say where, but just through GBR and some of the functions and events that we host. And she's awesome. And we've come to really respect her and have a lot of love for her. And she's got one heck of a testimony. We've heard bits and pieces of it. We're going to get the full testimony tonight. So everybody's in for a treat, man. And we just love and respect you. And thank you for tuning in. Hope you've had a blessed Sunday. I'm ready to go. This is Amber Tripp Ramirez. She's going on the spot tonight, sharing her testimony with us. And if you join me in prayer, we'll get this thing started. Thanks again, everybody. Feel free to share out if you can to wherever you want. I think it's getting on my page now and GVR, but thank you all for tuning in. Whew. Father God, I love these times. I'm so grateful how you have me here in this position, this opportunity to hear testimony after testimony of these amazing brothers and sisters, your sons and daughters, Lord. You know everything each one of them has been through, the choices they've made, the situations that you've had to help them out of many times. We've all been prodigal sons and daughters, Lord, and thank you for shepherding us back in on that straight and narrow path as we try to walk it as best we can and surrender the rest to you. Thank you for our sister Amber tonight coming in and sitting down with us, willing to share her testimony, Lord. Please use it to influence, impact, and give somebody some inspiration out there, even if it's one person tonight or maybe weeks or months or years down the line, Lord. It's really your story and your glory. We thank everybody that's coming in tonight. Please be with anybody who's had a tough week, month, or year, or day. Just ease their hearts. Let your presence be felt and known to them, that they can lean on you for your strength, your guidance, your protection, and provision. And we just thank you. We glorify you. Wouldn't be here without you. Thank you for every little thing you do. Thank you for all the things that you don't do that would keep me out of trouble. Appreciate them just the same. Thank you for everything that you blessed us with. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this day, the day that you have made. I say this prayer boldly, but humbly in your holy Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, sis, here we go. It's common knowledge at this point. I mean, anybody that tunes into these testimonies, in my opinion, always have to start off with childhood, where you grew up, how that went, how childhood was, parents, siblings. Just tell us a little bit about who Amber was as a child and how your childhood was and all that entails.
All right. Well, as y'all know, I'm Amber Ramirez. I was born here. I'm still here. I reside in Corpus Christi, Texas. Born and raised. I have never left. My parents were divorced by the time I was 2 years old, and my stepdad, who is no longer with me, was with my mom from the age of 6 years old. So, he was a big part of my life. So that person was also considered my father, and my grandparents raised me because of a lot of trauma and just things that I was going through as a child. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents and on and off back to my mom's. But for the most part, just here in Corpus Christi, Texas, never have left. I didn't even know what being on a plane was or any of that or going somewhere else till, unfortunately, I had to go somewhere else to a different state without, against my will pretty much. But
Oh,
yeah,
well,
um,
how old was you when that happened? And
that was just, within these past 7 years, I had to, I was incarcerated, so I had to go
okay,
to a whole different state
gotcha,
in a
gotcha.
plane, and that
And
was against
that's
my will.
yeah, that's later on. We'll get to all that and some
Yeah,
of it led up to it. But I was like, man, who took you as a kid?
yeah. No, I wasn't kidnapped. No, no, I was
No,
not.
okay.
Yes,
I was like, that's new to me. Let's dig into this.
yes,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, there was highlights and lowlights in everybody's childhood. I mean, it kind of shapes some of the early years or a lot of the years ahead of us. What was some maybe events that you can look back and say that kind of shaped the years ahead, your teenage years? Then you can start talking about um, school and how all that went. And
Well, um, from about, I'm gonna jump to about 10 to about
okay,
age 10. Um, I I was always, I'd go with my biological father from a child, since my parents divorced since I was very young. So about 10 years old, always back and forth with my dad. He'd pick me up for the weekend or something. And a lot of times he wouldn't, and I'd be waiting sometimes, and it would upset me sometimes. And I I've always had good grades. Always in school was good grades, straight A's. Maybe a few times in my life I had a B, and to me that would upset me. But
hmm,
I was always good with my academics. And however, though, like by 10 years old, I was a whole little tomboy. I was riding in the streets on my bike with all the older people sitting on the stairs on the stoop. The older people, pretty much, gangsters, uh, sitting with them, and they just thought it was the coolest thing, and I thought it was cool too because they thought I was cool. They're like, "Oh, this little kid right here, man!" Like, and I would do all the dumb things, and I started smoking weed early, and got involved with a little boy, and at that age, like you're 10, and that was like my first little boyfriend, and never, there was nothing ever like an adult relationship, nothing sexual like that. It was just a label. That's my boyfriend. And
sure.
and
Well, did that give you some like a from the older crowd and stuff, the people around you? Did that give you some kind of sense of like, oh, so I'm being paid attention to, or did it kind of maybe fill some gap that you wasn't even really aware of? Because you seem to really embrace that.
Yeah, I think it did, to be honest. And it took me a while, like now in my older years, to realize that, that's not what I needed. But I was too young and naive at the time to understand that. So
Sure.
yeah, I felt like a sense of, oh, I'm needed here. They think I'm cool. Like I think it's cool living this type of lifestyle. And
Understand.
I would even, do things, you know, with my little boyfriend. We'd ride our bikes, go set fire to trash cans in the opposite neighborhood, that we were having rivalries with. We were doing all kinds of stuff. And by the
I
age
don't
of
need to
10,
don't need to
I
laugh.
had my, yeah. And by the age of 10, we actually were pretty much in like a domestic uh relationship. Like we were fighting, having all, I get off the school bus, we start fighting because I went to school, he didn't go to school, which is, you're supposed to go to school. And and the cops ended up getting called, and we've had,
Uh,
10 years old, that shouldn't be happening. So
well,
we had
you
the cops called on us
how
at 10 years old for having a whole, yeah, domestic dispute. So
I mean, did he get as good a grades as you were getting? He just might not
oh
have
no,
been that good at
as a
school.
matter No, he never. It was very rare to even see him in school. And
No.
as a matter of fact, he's in prison right now. He's been in and out of prison since we were little, and he's still in there.
Shoot.
Yeah, but
Um,
no. And then let me fast forward a little. My stepdad was already in my life by this age, but my stepdad did come from a he was born and raised here in Corpus, but he went to the Marines, and then when he got out, he had family and stuff in Sacramento, in California over there and stuff. So he would spend time over there, and he we had a like a love hate relationship, and I didn't fully accept it or understand it till I was older. Because when I was younger, it was mostly like, oh, in my head, like, oh, you're not my dad. You're not going to tell me what to do type of attitude sometimes when he would try to step in. And a lot of times I don't think he knew exactly how to step in or deal with me because I was just difficult. But he would try to um, mold me a little bit, kind of like a little pit bull. Like he wanted to rough me up, just like him. And he wanted to rough me up like a little boy. But also, since he came with a few not I don't know, maybe not habits, but he came with a few things over there from California, like gang related stuff, and he showed me a few things about how to move and live like that. So those things, as a kid, when someone's teaching you those things, they stay in your head. They're still in my head till this day.
wow.
So, um, he roughed me up like a little boy since I was little,
And
and
do you think? I mean, I don't know if you ever got to this point, but do you think that he was the way he was with you because that's just all he knew? Like he couldn't. You're not supposed to teach a 10-year-old or 11-year-old like gang type of stuff. You're supposed to help them with their grades, take them fishing. I don't know, build forts with them, and I mean, just be a good example, but not teach them gang life at that age. But if he didn't know anything else, I'm not trying to excuse that, but um,
yeah, it could
that's the
have been
opposite.
that too. It could have been because it was neither here nor there because it was a mix. It was a mix. Sometimes it just depends on who you got that day, to be honest. Sometimes he's a
Um,
wild, crazy one. Sometimes he's just a straight arrow dad. Sometimes he's the wild guy that, like, let's get in the car, let's go jump this guy. All right, let's go. So you never knew what you were gonna get. You
but
never knew.
that kind of sounds like, and I'm just guessing, but it kind of sounds like he might have been indulging in some chemicals or substances. I mean, to
And a
have
lot
this,
of it, it's a well, he was a Marine, so he has a lot of
okay,
PTSD and
sure,
all
okay,
kinds of other stuff that was
okay,
going on with him. But
yeah, I
yes,
should,
and bipolar for sure,
oh,
very
okay.
bipolar.
I
Um,
should assume that. I mean, being in the military and stuff like that's going to make him a certain way. But then if he's living a different kind of life than the military life, that's bashing up against each other. How to be exactly to you, and I mean that was a lot of conflicting feelings and emotions and experiences for him. So, I mean,
yes.
is he still around today?
No, he passed away while I was doing some time.
Oh man, okay. I mean, did it was you on a good you know were you in a good place with him
Um,
before
a,
that?
a little bit. I didn't fully get to make my peace at that moment, but I was able to call, and I saw him before I went in. I saw him before I went in, and um, I did go visit him when I got out, and
Yeah.
I've made peace since then. So I would like to say we left on a good note.
Okay. You don't harbor nothing like to this day like negative towards him. It,
No,
it
not
seemed like it seemed like maybe we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I can't say nothing. I was a terrible absent parent, but he was there. He tried maybe the best he could. He
and I will say, he he was never absent from the time he came into my life till he passed away. He was never absent. If anything, he was there. He showed up and showed out for anything,
wow.
whether it was for school whether it was for my kids, which he loved my kids, which are, he considered his grandkids, and whether we're in a good time or a bad time, he had my back and I had his back, regardless if we're beefing at that time. If it called for it, he can call me and I could call him. I never went without, and I
That's
pretty
good
much,
then.
I had a good. I was brought up well, aside from the craziness.
Sure. Yeah, that's probably the number one thing you could ask for is consistency and being there. Everybody's gonna make mistakes. There's not one perfect parent on this earth.
Yeah.
It sounds like sounds like he's a good man, and maybe you're a little bit better for knowing him and having him in your life, and I think that's very cool. Um,
Yeah.
how let me bring this up. This was really, I don't think a lot of people would expect this, and maybe I'm still just, I don't know a ton of people, but back home and stuff, you're 10, 11, 12, getting a little bit older and hanging out with that crowd, maybe some gang members and whatnot, being around that lifestyle and kind of getting more involved with it. But at the same time, your grades were still awesome. You were still high honors. You were still maintaining that. Usually, if you hear a story like that, they're like, "Oh, they quit school, they dropped out freshman year, all gang stuff." But you were able to somehow, and I haven't heard too many stories like this. I mean, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, like doing both, like being able to hang out, do that stuff with the gang or whatever you want to refer to them as your friends, your family, and then still have high honors. Take us through how you were able to balance both of those, because that's kind of like a new story to me.
I think a lot of it, had to do with my motivation and willpower, that I was determined to do something. I'm real competitive, so I was like, in my own head, like, I will not fail. I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep going. And another big support, my mother. My mother started off as a oh,
Mm.
my mom has been a substitute teacher since I was in pre-K, and she started working. She's still a teacher till this day.
Oh wow.
She loves children. And I've done a lot, and that woman has never given up on me.
Wow.
And she has been through so much, and I still sometimes don't understand how she continues to go on every day. Because sometimes I can feel it when she's going through it. And I'm her oldest daughter. I'm the oldest by 11 years. So I've been with her. I've been with through some of her hard times when she was still young, because she had me young.
Yeah.
I've seen some things that, my sisters never got to see. And pretty much we grew up together. And just seeing how far she's come. We used to live in an apartment together, and now she lives in a nice house, and she's working and doing all these things, and she's still
Good.
she's just a wonderful woman, and I love her to death. And there's no words that I can express to how I feel for my mom. And she's she would motivate me for anything, have my back for anything. I could do the worst thing in the world, and she's still gonna be right there.
Yeah.
And never judged me. And I've done a lot of things that is so easy for people to judge.
Sure.
And she she's just, she, since she was working with the school, um she was always there. So I always, and another thing is, I never wanted to ever make my mom look bad, especially her working for the school I go to. So I was involved in almost every sport you can think of, and still living my crazy life. I was like a double life. Like
Yeah.
I go to school and then I'm crazy on the outside of school. So I've
Did you?
basketball, softball, football, track, cross country, band, cheerleader, uh, dancer, anything you can think of, I was in it. So I
Football
don't even
and
know how I found time.
football and cheerleader.
Yes, and then
Now,
during halftime show, I was in band and I was a dancer. So I
oh
would
my
have to
goodness.
sometimes I would choose like, are you going to dance on the field or are you going to perform? And then there was also times where I was in trouble, so I couldn't do either. I just had to be dressed and sit in the stands because I was in trouble or in kind of some suspension or something because I didn't know how to act sometimes. But my
Yeah,
grades were still good. My grades were still good, so you're still considered part of the athletics because the only time you're not part of athletics or the band is when you're failing, and that was never ever happening. So I would still show up.
wow. I mean, how much of that other life did your mom know about? I mean, you said she didn't judge you and didn't. Well, it
Oh,
wasn't.
she's known. She knew exactly.
So you
Uh,
didn't hide nothing from her. She wasn't somebody that you feared telling it to her or anything. It sounds like you would kind of like worry about disappointing her, but at the same time, it sounds like you could tell her anything.
Absolutely, she's like a sister. I could tell her anything, and um, it kind of made our relationship better. I never had to hide anything or be scared to tell her
Right.
like, "Oh, I'm going to do this" or "I'm going to go do this." I would just tell her, and it's not a good thing, but whether her answer was no or she didn't like it or was against it, I was going to do what I wanted, and that's just being honest. So if I
Sure.
wanted to go somewhere or do something, and her answer might have been no, I was in my head, my mind was made up, and I was going to go regardless. I was going to
Sure.
do what I wanted, and
I mean,
um she she knew what I would do because a lot of times the trouble I would get in since I was so young, I would need a parent or somebody to help get me out. So
sure.
so half the time, even to get off the bus or do anything, I just got into a fight or something happened. They have to get me from school. I got caught with drugs at school, something. My mom always knew what was going on. So and then half the time, I started off as most of us do, smoking weed, and I would do it a lot at home. I do it a lot at home, and she didn't really mind that. She was like, "I'd rather you do it at home." She was one of those. "Yeah, I'd rather you do it at home, drink at home, than go somewhere else."
Yeah.
Because since I was young, me getting intoxicated or getting, real high or something, I'm one of those types that, I can get violent. It's gonna either be we're gonna have a great time or I'm gonna get violent. There's no in between. It's either a
That
great time or violent. You know,
sounds like
and
somebody.
yeah, there's no way. And so she would like me to stay home, but you know, by
Which
age.
is good because I mean, you probably stood a better chance of getting in a lot more trouble if she didn't let you stay home. I mean, she didn't want you to get hurt. She didn't want you to get in trouble, but she knew that you were going to do your stuff anyway, but that you could also tell her about it. So I think
Absolutely.
she did that as right as she could. If she would have tried to keep you from hanging out and you would have might have started feeling like a little bit of defiance, and plus you were so committed to school that has to get counterbalanced somehow. Like you got to decompress and be like, just it might have helped in some way. I cannot condone like that.
Yeah.
But
It,
if you
sometimes,
didn't have a release, I mean, who knows? That might have crashed some of your grades.
yeah, there was times, and my friends still bring it up every time my friends talk to my kids or anything. They're like, "Man, your mom, she's so smart. You should have seen her in school." They'll always, go back to like our school days. They're like, "How did you do it?" Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how you did it. Because to be honest, there was times when I'd be like in my history class or something, and inside of the spine of my book, I'm doing lines of cocaine in class. Like but I'm at school and my grades are good. It made no sense. But
Focus
there I
powder,
was.
they called it back then, I guess.
Yeah, I guess now
You weren't the
yeah,
only
that
one
would
that
never
was doing
happen.
that in all these different cities and states. I mean, as sad as it sounds, it's probably way more common. Um,
Oh yeah,
but none of that,
Texas.
yeah, none of that affected you wanting to maybe not necessarily please your mother, but live up to how you saw her. I mean, obviously she had to have a heck of a work ethic and high IQ, and I mean, in that sense, I mean, I think you reflected her pretty well, but continuing to hang out as you did, with that crowd, there were some life choices that kind of started you down a different path. If you want to take us into those.
Yeah. Well, to touch up on that just a little bit before I move on, my biological father is a very successful man. So from him, I did shield and hide a lot of my bad behavior. My dad barely even heard me cuss recently in these past maybe 7 to 8 years. That's the first time my dad has heard me cuss. I
Hmm.
don't even. I take out all my face is pretty pierced. I don't have any in right now, but even when I'm around my father, I take out my piercings. You know, my dad he he graduated Texas A&M over here. Texas A&M, bachelor's, master's. He's very successful businessman. Still is. My dad very wealthy, total opposite. A lot of people just knowing me off the street or anywhere would never guess that that would be my father. We could I could go have lunch with him or something, and we're sitting at a whole table. Some of them are the DAs, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm nervous, and I'm like, I'm sitting with all kinds of people, and he's like, it's all right, and I'm like, it might be all right for you, but my heart's racing and it's gonna come out my throat. But you know, so my dad, I'd never wanted him to see that part of me, and I shielded that for a long time. And um so another thing with that is I didn't ever wanted to disappoint him in my grades or anything, especially him being such a scholar. So I kind of wanted to also follow in those footsteps, but I had so much mixed emotions growing up. Like I wanted to live crazy, but I wanted to live right. I would think I was just very lost. I didn't know what I really wanted, to be honest. I don't just lost. And it took me even as maybe like a 30-year-old, in my 30s to kind of almost figure that out. And it took, or it's some of y'all that know me where I'll get to that in a while, but where I ended up got me to figure that out.
Sure, yeah.
So, um, but by age, I'm going to jump forward now. By 14, I was already, on probation and having to see a psychiatrist. And I was diagnosed with a lot of things by 14 years old, but would not take medicine. I just self medicated and smoked more marijuana than I should have. Probably killed so many brain cells, and um, I started doing a lot of Xanax. Started doing so much Xanax that I would forget like months of my life. Months
Wow.
of my life, I would not remember things. So so there's a lot of time gaps in my life where I don't remember stuff. People remind me of things till this day, and I have no recollection.
How's that make you feel when somebody might just bring up something? Hey, you remember when da da da? And you're like a blank. Like
Hey,
how does that make you feel?
hey, I'm just like, are you serious? Sometimes it's funny if it's not such a serious thing. I'm like, dang, I did that. That's ridiculous. And
Sure.
sometimes I'm like, man, that was stupid or it's embarrassing. Very
Yeah.
embarrassing sometimes depending on what they're talking about. Cause I'm like, gosh, that's dumb. Or, I could have got us all shot or something, like acting crazy. And a lot of times, I acted stupid with law enforcement and I don't recollect any of the things I was saying or doing. And, you know, uh, um, and these are different times now, but I probably could have got shot and hurt pretty bad with some of these law enforcement if I acted the way if I acted like that now
Yeah.
than the way it was then. But
Gosh.
I would act really stupid. and I thought it was invincible. Xanax made me feel like I was invisible, invincible. I could do anything, conquer anything, and really I was probably as slow as a snail, and everybody was watching me pretty much. So,
And
and so
I
I
mean,
was just getting
like
crazy.
just the people you were hanging around kind of introduced you to those.
Um, and really, I think they maybe they would try it. They would do it like once in a while. But my thing was whenever I would try something or got into something, I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna go hard. If I'm doing weed at that time, I'm gonna go hard. If I'm doing cocaine, I'm gonna do all the way. I'm gonna do Xanax. I don't know how to just do a little. I go all the way.
You don't
And
eat just one chip. You're eating.
yes,
You're eating back.
yes, it's bad. So um
Right.
some of my friends would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna take a one of the Xanax or bars. They call them bars. So I'm gonna take one, and I'm taking like 10, and and then I wake up in jail, and I'm like, what did I do? And I'm reading my papers, and they'll say like burglary of a habitation. Oh, there we go. I'm just
Surprise.
I yeah, wake up 2 days later in jail. What the heck, And my
Well,
friends they were like, man, you should have seen you. I'm like, did y'all see me? Like,
well, it's kind of strange though, and I'm just sharing this because I've done some dumb stuff of my own. Like where I look back and I'm like, where was the fun in anything that I did? But like something like that, if that just takes you completely out and blacks you out to where you're not even aware of anything you're doing, I struggle trying to figure out where the fun in that is, or is
I
that part of it? Like that just takes you out, and that's an escape because it's not like you're really cognizant of like good times, funny times, music, doing this. Like you're just not there until
yeah,
later
and
on.
yeah, and at the time, you don't know that. At the time, you don't know that you're acting like that till later. Like at that time, you think that you're the best at everything. I could sing a song, and I thought, in my head when I was that high, I thought that I was singing the best. I could have been recorded an album. Like I'm stealing TV straight out of the Walmart or something and walking right past them and they're like, oh, they can't see me and they're just looking at me like, look at this idiot. And in my head, I'm like,
They
and
don't even
there
see
could
me.
be a yeah,
Well,
300-pound bodybuilder man, and I'm there face to face with him wanting to fight, knowing he can, and I think I'm going to take him because I'm the Hulk at that time, and it didn't matter. And so, you know, and that was my mentality, and I have to talk myself down too with that because my anger goes a long way. So,
I mean, it
so
sounds like you had a lot of protection over your life. I don't mean just from people around you, but yeah, I mean, if there was a lot of instances like that, it seemed like you got very fortunate and protected, not just necessarily lucky. Because eventually, for a lot of people, not being aware and able to control themselves, I mean, it ends up usually ends up pretty bad. So it seems like
yeah,
you had a hand of protection over your life right there. No, I lost her for a second. We'll see if she comes back
I'm
on. Here you are. You
yeah,
got a
yeah.
phone call or
I was like,
something.
I'm like, get my Wi-Fi.
I was like, she's acting like it right now. I don't know. Just kidding. So, yeah, did that lead to some? I mean, some bad choices to where things. I mean, eventually, some of us are, did here in the beginning, where some of this led, but yeah, I mean, that's not a good choice right off the bat. 10 Xanax. I mean, so what's some consequences a lot of that lifestyle led to?
Well, it led to a lot of jail time for sure. In and out of jail. And by the age of 16, uh, I got pregnant. I got pregnant at 16, and I'm not saying that was related to the Xanax, but my lifestyle, my lifestyle. I ended up getting pregnant by 16, and that was a big thing for me, trying to tell my family that, and especially with my grades, because at 16, I was already getting uh, offers of scholarships from, well, Tulane University. I've had some from New York and different places. And obviously, I didn't take those routes, and I had kids very early. And so uh, that kind of always upset me. And on my diploma plan, I had a specific diploma plan for whenever I finished school, and they were, what kind of, they asked you like, what colleges are you wanting to go to? And at that time, I was real into, I wanted to be a Tar Heel. I wanted to go to North Carolina. I wanted to be a Tar Heel so bad at that time in my life. And at that time, that school was not reaching out to me. So I was like, oh man. And so I that kind of upset me. But um having my child early, I ended up doing my own class. It's part of my school still. It's still part of my school, but it's like a rapid track. So I did that. I did the rapid track, and it I finished 2 years early. I was supposed to graduate in '06, and I was done by '04.
Wow.
So I ended up having my baby, and we graduated together pretty much. We graduated together. And
Wow.
yeah, so I graduated with my firstborn son, and all the teachers, everybody knew him. So uh that was a
Hmm.
big thing for me. And I went to I started working right away. Right after I had him, maybe about 3 or 4 months after I had him, I started working, and then I started going to uh, like a college for to be a medical assistant, and I finished that. I graduated as a medical assistant with honors, and also from high school when I finished school, I graduated with honors and the top 10 of that class.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
yeah, so I finished, and I still went to school, and then I got real once they gave having my son, they prescribed me some Lortabs. That was the worst thing that could have probably happened to me.
Oh, wow.
Um, because after I had him, the it was bad. I'm not supposed to take more than one, it says, and I was there taking. It started off with like two at a time, three at a time, and then I'd start scratching the itch, and I started to fall in love with that. So by the time you knew it, I would be done with the prescription, look outside of the medical field, look on the street or something, get some more. And
Oh,
uh, I was just trying. Sorry, my husband's messaging for a lift. Sorry
no,
about that.
no, that's fine. I
And
mean, you were able to find those specifically on the streets or like
oh
something
yeah,
similar
yeah,
to them?
cost
Oh,
money to get
okay.
them on the street, but yeah. So I would get those, and then I also had a friend that worked in the dentist office, and all they needed was the doctor's stamp. He wouldn't even sign it. It was a stamp on the prescription. So she would just write it on there, and I'd take it to the pharmacy. And then, it was a horrible thing. But so I would have a prescription of mine at one pharmacy. Then I would have her make one under my mom's name, do one under my mom's name, I had prescriptions everywhere and picking them up, and all kinds. And so that's how I started with that. And then as I got older, I wanted more. I wanted more. It got intense. Got pretty intense, and I started using well, they call it lean over here in Texas. We call it lean. It's promethazine with codeine. Promethazine and codeine. So pretty much almost like a liquid Lortab, liquid heroin, however you want to call it. And so I started pouring that up. We pour over here in Texas. We drink it. We mix it with Sprite. We mix it with Big Red. We mix it, drink it. That's how we use it over here. And I started
What's
doing that,
and what's the
and
effects
then
of that? A lot like the Xanax used to be, just kind
it's more like a almost like like a lower tab kind of heroin, an opiate. It's opiates.
Oh, okay.
Opiates. So we do that, and then I just kept progressing, progressing. I started using that. I started after that wasn't enough. I started going to oxycodone, oxymorphone, any all the opiates you can think of. I just kept getting deeper and deeper
Now,
and deeper.
how
And
how is this affecting your duties and responsibilities as a mother, though?
at that time, I had a lot of help with from my grandmother, my my mom, even my stepdad. I had help, but I would never, even as I got older, I never did the drugs in front of my kids. I was more like I'll go to the restroom, and since they were still little at that time, I just go to the next room, do it, and then come back. And it's sad, but a lot of them never knew a sober me till I came out of prison. So
Mm.
from the time they were little, the whole time growing up, I don't even think they knew I was under the influence. They thought that was just me.
Oh,
And
is that the same for your mom, dad, and grandma? Did they ever suspect anything?
oh yeah, they knew. They knew. They definitely knew. And
But you were able to kind of still manage and maintain stuff, though.
yes, I was like a functional user pretty much.
Okay.
Well, what I considered a functional user, but to other people, they're probably like, "Man, that girl is strung out." But
So it could be perceptions.
yes, so it was difficult. It was a little difficult for me. But this I started once the
I think this happens when you get a phone call. So we'll give her a second again. Sometimes you got to announce it, ladies and gentlemen. It'd be like, hey, I'm going to be on the spot tonight, such and such a time. No calls. We'll give it a second. This is a heck of a story so far, man. And we're glad to have her with us sharing this. And you know, I got a feeling it gets a little bit darker and deeper. So maybe a good spot for a little bit of a pop up break. So thanks for everybody that's tuning in. I think she'll come back on in a minute. This happens now and then. We can go over a few things while we wait for her to come back on. She's right though when she was talking about that. Like I think a lot of us, I think it comes with it. Like getting into it, whatever drug you're doing, you're still going to work, maintaining things. You're there at home for the kids, and it's just like you got this extra little thing that nobody knows about that makes you more present, more productive, more sociable, or whatever, better mood. It provides these things that we kind of are looking for. Otherwise, why would we keep doing them for so long? But oh, how that turns on you eventually. And she was saying how she was functional, maybe not even really um, thinking that she was an addict at this point. Um, but had the addiction tendencies, right? To go into the bathroom, to go in the next room, even around young children, and um, saying that her mom and grandma and dad like all knew, but were still just hanging with her and trying to help and everything and doing what they had to do to step up. So we'll see where it goes from here. I was just filling everybody in. I knew you'd be back. I was like, maybe she got a phone call. Sometimes people get phone calls during these on the spots, and it takes you off.
it was my debit card is what it was. My debit card telling me that it was used for Lyft and stuff. Well, because my husband's getting off of work and we got the cards connected. I'm like, I already know he's got a Lyft. I don't need to know this.
That's all right though. They're thorough, but yeah, where we're at in the story, I was telling people that like, look, this might get a little bit darker and deeper. At this point, doing the lower tabs and whatnot, and thinking that, hey, you're just, you're functional, you're maintaining stuff. You might not have even been thinking, hey, I might be an addict at this point. But still, some of those tendencies started to creep in with going into the bathroom, going to the next room. That's just that kind of comes with it, right? Even if the kids like are too young, that's still starting to give you those addict behaviors.
Oh
Um,
yes.
and the parents knowing, maybe not knowing, but they're just stepping up. They're trying to help. That's what grandparents do and whatnot. So it 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 got progressively worse for you. And however you want to take that, take us into that is up to you. But we're really just kind of getting into it right now. So
Yes. Well, in between, but between the age of 16 when I had my first child and, going into my early 20s, so I'm like 19, 18, 19, 20, still doing these things, um, with the father of my kids, and any relationships I was having, it was never anything healthy, nothing healthy at all, especially at 16, you know, um, the father of my oldest four, the father of my oldest four kids, because right after I had my right after 16, I had my son. I had another one back to back to back. I had four kids with him. I had four kids under the age of before I was 20. I had four kids. So um that whole time with him, it wasn't always bad, but it was, and we got together so young, and we have a good relationship now, as parents, you
yeah,
know, civil, but at that time, he had a very my problem. I drink like an animal when I do drink, but I was never like an alcoholic. I would just, on those times that I would drink, I'm going to drink hard on that day. It's not going to, oh, I'm going to have one or two. We're going to go out and drink casual. It was never that. And my problem was the opiates and the Xanax. I always had liked that feeling down, warm feeling, slow motion. That was my thing. I was never really an up type of person. I was more of a downer. So with him, by 17 years old, he was already going to AA, the father of my first children. He was already going to AA and stuff at 17, for
wow,
me, alcoholic, drinking full bottles. And I would deal with that. And as I mentioned, I have I struggle with anger a lot. And the Lord is still working on me with that till this day. I struggle with it every day. I'm, I'm just a hot headed person naturally. Like I
a
don't
lot of
know.
us are. A lot of us are, sis. No
Yeah.
comparison, but a lot. That's still something I battle too. Let me guess this one. I don't want to assume, but he's going to AA at 17. That had to give you some kind of resentments towards him.
Absolutely. We would he never really I'm not going to say he never did put his hands on me, but it was always more I think of me putting my hands on him more because I get so angry. I get so angry at the way he'd be belligerently drunk, and I'm trying to raise our kids here. I'm still young, trying to raise myself. Now I'm
Sure.
trying to raise this drunk man and all our kids. So I would get very irritated, very
Sure.
mad, and and mind you, he was only like a buck 30. And so, we got a linguine. I had a linguine on my hands pretty much. And to me, I will ragdoll something that small. And
Wait a minute. Let me compose myself. Okay. I just pictured a linguine, in an AA meeting with a bruise. Go ahead. Okay.
that's pretty much what
Truth and
was going.
transparency, folks. Truth and transparency. It's all she's said. All she's doing.
Yes. And so, I will have to say I was very abusive to that man.
Good.
and, and, and sometimes it would just make me sick because I'm going to give y'all one example. I was very pregnant with one of our kids. I'm gonna like 7, 8 months big pregnant already,
Mm.
and he's wasted. He is wasted. and we were staying with my grandmother at that time, and we had one of those small fences like for the dogs to not come over, little
Yep.
small fence. Okay. And he's we're on one side of it and our bed is on the other side, and my grandma comes in the room and she's like, what's wrong? And he tries to tell my grandma, he's all, well, look at her, she's all drunk. I am not drunk. I was pregnant, and he was obviously wasted. So my grandma just looks, and my grandma's just looking at him like, are you stupid? And so I blew a fuse, and I just grabbed him from his neck and from the middle of his pants, and I just flipped him upside down and body slammed him over that fence onto the bed, and he just passed out, cold for the rest of the night. And I was like, don't touch him, leave him there. He's breathing, he's fine. He's still breathing, just leave him there. I don't want to hear another word come out of his mouth. Like I would get I would get like furiously mad, especially with accusations like that when I'm over here trying to get him quietly into the bed, or don't break anything, don't harm yourself, don't harm our kids, don't act stupid, don't vomit on the floor, don't pee on
Don't
yourself.
don't break the dog fence. I'll take care of
Yes,
that.
yes.
Well, he did technically. It's still his fault. Men.
So
He went night night. Is what you said. You're like, you're done. You're
yes,
done.
yes, yes. You're done. Go to sleep.
We
And
made fun. He's okay now though, right? He's fully healed from the dog fence flip. Okay, I didn't. We can laugh now in hindsight, but who else is just in their minds seeing this poor guy just tumble through the like three somersaults? Grandma shakes her head, goes back to the bedroom.
it's pretty much like my family knows me very well. So when I get into those massive uh, fits of rage, they're just like, and they just
Yeah.
walk off. Oh, they don't even say a word to me. They're just like, yeah, well, there you go. They're
We're, it's so good. It's so you got to admit it's so good to make light of it and be able to joke about it now. He's fine. I'm sure that wasn't the worst of your physicality with people, but I
no,
mean, I don't think anybody in here is hearing this and being like, "Oh, she shouldn't have done that." I think a high percentage of people would have been like, "Yeah, I guarantee it. Deb would have flipped me." I mean, she has actually pushed me out of the bed a couple times. That's a strong woman, willed, soul, spirit, and I deserve to. Sometimes I threw myself out of bed. I'm like, I'll go ahead and just I tumble out. I'm like, oh, I got it. So we make fun, we make jokes about that, but
yes. Now we joke about it.
yeah,
He's married. He's married now. Has other children. I'm married.
good.
And so, but we still talk and we're civil because we have children together, and time has passed, and he's also I'm with my church. He's also with his church. So we both went these certain ways, and
That's
we
good.
communicate even like on Facebook. We're friends, and we send each other Bible quotes and all kinds of stuff. But he he's doing a lot better. He's in a good place. He's got a wonderful wife. I think he couldn't have done better. He's got a very good woman in his life, and I feel like she steered him in the right direction. And
Well, yeah, I think that's awesome. I'm very glad. I mean, I'm trying to. I mean, in some ways, some time with you might have steered him towards wanting to get better too. You know what? I'm not even trying to joke. I'm just saying some experience are like, well, that didn't work out. I'm gonna get some stuff together. So maybe in a way, that you were really good for him. It was some tough love, but that's a
yeah,
great story to hear that he's doing good. You guys are communicating. The better you two are, the better chances the kids will be. With two present, loving parents. Um, and that was just one of some other relationships I'm sure that you got into over the years. So
that
not
was the
all
that was
not all of
that
them
was
were
the more
good.
decent one.
That was
That was
one
the
of the
more
decent ones. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, compared to what I'm with now, compared to where I'm at now, but yeah, that was the less violent one.
Yeah. If you want to take us through any more of the highs and lows of other relationships and I mean continued using and stuff after pregnancies and in between and whatnot, like yeah, this road definitely continued to wind and turn and get a little bit darker. So wherever you want to go with it from here.
Well, okay, well, it's gonna go deeper into another bad relationship, but deeper into my addiction because it got worse. Um, so I left off that I was using all kinds of opiates in pill form. So I'm, using opiates in all kinds of pill form. And after the relationship with the man I was just talking about, the father of my children, after that ended, I ended up getting into another relationship, and and this guy that I was with, he kind of reminded me of myself because, like how I said, my grades and as academics and a scholar, I still continued to do those type of things. I never gave up. So did that guy that I met. Very, very smart guy. I'll still say that till this day. That's a very smart guy. And, it's sad that we took the wrong paths and he hasn't found himself yet till this day, but he has got so much potential. But he was going to Texas A&M also, and I was going to one of our local colleges here, which is called Del Mar. I was going, I was going for cell molecular biology, and he was, I think he was just doing his basics at that time. But so he's at the university, I'm at the college, and we're both heavy opiate pill users. So, so now you don't just have me consuming all these pills and stuff on a daily basis. You got him.
Oh,
And I had never really had hung out or met anybody that kept up with the amount that I would do because I would do ridiculous amounts and I don't even know how I'm standing here or sitting here today because with the amounts that I would take on a regular basis, it's just, some people have passed away doing way less.
yeah.
So, you know, um, like I would consume 20 lower tabs a day, probably more because that's just what I'm counting. And I would take a lot, and he would do the same. And so sometimes when we couldn't find them or it would get too expensive for both of us, we would get Suboxone, which is pretty much like methadone, legal, uh, pretty much like heroin, pretty much, Um, so we started taking a lot of Suboxone and methadone when we didn't have our pills, just so we wouldn't be sick. And so that's, when you're already getting to that point, you've got this full blown addiction when you can't even get out of bed and start your day because you're sick from not having opiates. And I'm only like 19, 20 at this, well, the oldest I could have been with this man was 21 because I celebrated my 21st birthday with him. So, so by 21, I've got a whole opiate addiction. And so does he. So he goes to rehab and I stay there at the house with his mother. And he didn't even last not even 3 days. He called me. He was pretty much escaping from the rehab, and he's like, "Have me something ready. I feel sick." And he got a ride over there, and me, at that time in my addiction, I didn't stop and think. Now that I'm sober minded and level headed, like, no, I should try to encourage him to stay there, do the right thing. No, I automatically got him something ready for when he walked through that door. He wasn't going to be sick. And,
Hmm.
so we just, poured fuel to the fire. Like, we were not good for each other. We're not good for each other. We were just feeding each other's habits. And,
Awesome. You,
and,
you, you were
it was
sober for a little while too when he went. So you were just getting sober on your own.
Oh no, while he was in rehab, I was still getting high at his house with
Oh, okay.
his mom.
I thought you said you were sober and clean, or clean and sober minded.
Oh no, now that
Oh,
I'm
I got
sober
you.
minded and clean,
Okay,
I could
okay. That's my
I
bad.
could see, yeah, where I could
So
see where I
it was
was
instinctual.
wrong.
He called you up, and I mean, you were like, but then okay, yeah, and then went and got.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then, That relationship was not good at all. And after being with him for a while, he like I said, we went to different schools. So I saw that he was pretty much cheating on me. He left his laptop open when he went to school, and I could see him messaging somebody. And like I said, I'm hot headed. So he left it open, and I could see it. So I got mad. I and I started to leave. I started to leave, and he he I showed up at the school. I showed up at the school, and I didn't make a scene at the school, but he did. He did try to deny it, and I put it in his face and made me more mad. We ended up separating, kind of. We were still together, but I wasn't living with him anymore. I was living at my friend's house, and whenever came home from college one day. We were having a festival at college, and they had an open bar at my college. Okay, and that was a big no-no. So I never made it to any of my classes that day, and I stayed at the festival at my school and got very intoxicated. So whenever I was calling for him to pick me up, he wasn't picking up. He wasn't picking up for me, and um, so I walked home, and when I was entering the house, I could hear a girl laughing. I could hear a girl. Yeah, I heard a girl's voice, and our room was upstairs, directly under the garage. And uh, he uh, he didn't know that I still had my key. But whenever I went to open the door, something in my head clicked. I was like, I'm not going to go through the front door because I'm crazy. I'm going to go on the roof and get up there into the room. So
Okay.
I put the trash can by the side so I can, I'm short. I'm giving myself credit if I say I'm 5 foot. So I
Well,
get on the trash can, I get on the trash cans and I make it to the roof where the windows of the room are, and I barge in, and she's in there, and well, I attacked both of them at one time. I just grabbed them both by their necks, both of them, and I eventually let her go because I wanted to attack him. So I let her go, and she ran to his mom's room and locked herself in there. And his mom was like, "Who are you? Who are you, and why are you in my room?" But she let her stay in there, and the mom came out, and I was attacking her son. She had never seen me like that. She had never seen me out of character, the mother, because I'm very, I get mad and I do all these crazy things like a whole nother person. It's crazy, but in front of parents, family, I'm always very respectful. So she had never seen me like that, and she it was kind of funny. She said, "Amber, you need to stop it. You're being very ghetto right now."
oh wow, very specific, mom.
Yeah, she did. She did. And I was just,
Yeah.
went one year out the other, and they called the cops on me. Yeah, they called the cops on me because they did not know what to do. He was on my back, the mom was on my back, and I was still going up the stairs. So they were like, yeah, we need a tranquilizer or something. So they
Oh
called the
wow.
cops. Yeah. So the cops came, and they didn't take me to jail. They took me. They said this is a domestic disturbance. If I live there, what did I need? They were gonna take me somewhere else. I said all I need from here is my phone charger. I just wanted my phone charger, and they dropped me off at my friend's house. So that was fine with me. And I get in the. I'm at my friend's house, and my cousin who lives down the street. I call him. It's like 3 in the morning by that time, and I should have just stayed my little ass inside, but I didn't. I called my cousin to bring me some weed and some pills and stuff. And he gets there, and I go downstairs, and instead of just getting my stuff and going back upstairs, he's like, "You want to come with us? It's a car full of all my cousins punk rockers and stuff. I'm like, yeah, let's go. It's 3 in the morning. Why not? So I get in the car, and he's my cousin's drunk already, and he's going 80 miles an hour, laughing, turning around, looking at me, laughing, crazy laughing. Music blaring, we're jamming out, and because another thing I didn't mention is, I am one of those that love to go to the shows. I'm gonna be at the concerts. I'm gonna be at the local rock shows all day, all the time. Not anymore, too much now that I'm older, but that's where I love to spend a lot of time. And my cousins were in a band and wild. If you know, like, I don't know if you've been around some punk rockers, they like to party.
I've
And
heard.
yes, wild. So eh, we uh we we get in the car. He's going 80 miles an hour, and it turns into a cul-de-sac, like a not a cul-de-sac. Well, yes, it is a cul-de-sac. He's going into a cul-de-sac, so it's turning. And once he gets there, uh, he hits a tree. He can't stop. He can't stop. So we go into somebody's yard. I'm thinking we're gonna go into their house because it's 80 miles an hour. There's
God.
no and he hits. Thank God that there was a big tree in their yard. He hits the tree, and that's what stopped us from going into those people's house. And he the glass just shattered from the every windows, front, back. All the windows are are bad. There's glass in my neck.
Oh man. Saved by a tree. Yeah, this could have been real bad. What a place to unfortunately pause again for a minute, but we'll get through this story and see if we can maybe jump ahead a little bit to some consequences from this lifestyle and all these choices that Amber was making and living through. There you are.
Yeah, yeah, yes, and there's glass everywhere, all over me and stuff. And the people in the car, thank goodness, nobody got too hurt, especially going that speed and into a
Yeah.
tree.
That's
So
kind of
it
amazing.
yes, it's a pretty much a miracle. And I think the only thing that really saved us is in the front seat of that car, there was not a passenger seat. So it was like there was a seat missing, and it automatically goes to the back. And so when my cousin it hit most of that side in the front. So it didn't really hit him where he was driving. So the impact mostly hit where that passenger would have been, but there was no seat there.
Oh goodness.
So, we all get off the car, and all of us are either under some type of under the influence of all kinds of things in that car. It was a cocktail. So we get out, and I don't know what was going through our minds, but we left the car there and we all took off like scattered. Cops are going to come, obviously, because it was a loud crash. So we take off. We're getting rid of stuff, and I'm um, I'm calling my homeboys. Well, the guys that I've grown up with my whole life that will always have my back. I'm calling them like, hey man, this just happened. I need you to pick me up. The cops are coming in. They're like, oh man, where are you at? You got stuff on you? Yes, I got a lot of stuff on me, please. So I go hide around the corner. So probably I was in the back of a store or something. I made it somewhere to where I just told everybody, my cousins, my friends, everybody in that car, I was like, gotta go. I'm a paranoid wreck. I don't want to get caught up with the cops, so I wait for my homeboys to pick me up, and they get me. When I go over there and I tell them everything that's going on, I'm venting, mad, telling them about how I caught the girl in the house, how this is going on, this that, and I will say the whole time that I've been like in communication with these guys and stuff, like my whole life from when I was young, they, even though we lived like a crazy life, they never really encouraged me like, yeah, go get real messed up. And if anything, they would be like, hey, you need to go to school. Hey, Don't do too much of that. Hey, you don't you remember you told us you have a test tomorrow? You need to chill out. You got school tomorrow. They would always like still encourage me to go. But at the same time, if something was going on and we got to go do something, they'll call me. But they always were like to make sure, hey, you got school tomorrow. You please, don't mess up. But I will say that about them, and even still to this day, they're still like that. I don't communicate with them as much as I used to because I that was like an everyday thing. Now it's more like if they reach out to me, I'm not going to be rude and ignore their message or something. I'll respond, be like, "Hey, yeah, how are you doing? God bless." And they're like, "What?
Yeah.
Where's Trip? Where's Trip at?" But they know, yeah, they know I'm sober. They see the change, and they're all for it. Nobody has given me anything about it, or so.
I hope they support you. I mean, it's definitely a life change, and I mean, you still went through a lot of stuff, as you got older. Let me try to, I mean, everybody was okay, and you talked to everybody that was in the car that night. Eventually, was there, I mean, I don't know if like arrests were made or whatever, but I'm just glad everybody was okay and nobody in the house was hurt. So thank God that tree was there.
Yes, absolutely.
Another hand of
And
protection.
yes, and we've so I got over that, and that my friend's house that I was living at, um, I stayed with her for a while, and that relationship with that guy soon ended.
Yeah.
After that incident, but um, after that, as I did have another child. I had one child after that, and that is he's my 14-year-old. But like I said, I would hang out with the friends of my cousins a lot. I ended up having a child with one of his friends, and I that was a crazy situation. Like I said, I was heavily addicted to opiates, um, but I would take a lot of Xanax and stuff too. So, like I said, I'd forget a lot of things. I have gaps in my life. Well, I go to the hospital one day because I was very, very sick, and I was trying on my own to detox off the opiates. I got real sick, so I went to the hospital. My mom went with me, and she was trying to help me detox. So I'm there, and I'm thinking I'm sick, and I was honest with them. I'm detoxing, I'm very sick, and well, they do some lab work, and they come in and they tell me that I was pregnant. And so it kind of shocked me for a second. And my mom was just there. She held my hand and she was like, "It's okay." And in my head, I was like, "It's not okay. It's not okay." But so I felt at that moment, I felt like I hadn't been present, like in the mind or anything, for a few months there. Like I wasn't completely there. I was so lost in time gaps from being so high. And then I started to detox. So then I started to come to. And when I come to, they're like, "You're pregnant." So it wasn't okay with me. I was like, "What?" And so for 14 years, my son's 14, he's going to be 15 in August. When I got out just recently, this past year, we always knew who his dad was, kind of. Oh, well, me and the guy, we knew who it was, and we're friends, and we're still friends to this day. But we were just kind of like, you know, we accidentally had a kid, type of thing, like whoops. And
Happens.
uh, yeah, so we were. It was a kind of a weird situation, but finally, after 14 years, we did a DNA test and stuff, and it was confirmed on paper. So now, he knows that that's his dad, and they've been hanging. As a matter of fact, he's with him right now, and they're growing in a relationship. But we didn't automatically spring it on him. He talked to him slowly, like, let's go fishing. Oh, this is my friend, and I introduced him as my friend, and we would take him fishing or go somewhere, and then finally we did the DNA test, and we let him know. We talked to him, and he was cool with it. but we didn't want to do that to my son right away because through my addiction, I became like an absent parent. I was very absent. That was all I did. My world revolved around these drugs. So I was an absent parent, and my mom raised my 14-year-old. So my mom and my stepdad raised him. So he called my mom mom. He calls me mom too. He knows I'm his mom. But since she raised him, he calls my mom mom, and he called my stepdad dad. So when my stepdad passed away, I knew that was hard on him. So we didn't want to just spring that on him like, oh, this is your dad.
Yeah.
So he's been pretty cool about it, and they have a lot of stuff in common actually. They are always fishing and stuff. So um, I'm glad for that because his he's a good guy. Back then when we had him and we're wild, he was actually in that car. We got into a wreck. We're wild, and there was no way I ever wanted him to be involved with my son because he was living good. He was taken care of with my mom and my stepdad, and that guy was just as crazy as me. But as we got older,
Understandable.
hmm he got older and wiser. He's a whole different person now, and so we did the DNA test, and I'm glad with the way things are going now. And he's actually being a big help. And
I
so,
think that's good, man, and I'm glad it worked out the way it did, and the way you kind of, you know, eased him into that. I think that was best for sure. Um,
yeah,
Trip, let me shift gears a little bit with this. This is a big part of your testimony. I definitely want to have give you enough time to talk about this. I mean, these choices and lifestyles and stuff, went on for some years. Addiction got worse. Hanging out with the gang and that crowd, you were with them, and doing some things and activities with them, and eventually that led to some incarceration, which you were alluded to just a little while ago. Been about a year since you've been out. um, and if you want to talk about the events that led up to that sentence and some experiences that happened while you were in there, and what you felt and experienced when you got out, because it wasn't like you envisioned it would be when you got released.
yes. Oh, well, um, shortly after the addiction that I had going on with the opiates, the pills, um, like I said, I was just hungry for more and more and more, chasing a high I couldn't get. So that's how I started using heroin, powder form, powder form heroin, and when that wasn't enough, I kept progressing, and it was real bad. That consumed my life. I couldn't get out of bed, start my day, do anything without getting that first fix. you know I can't get out of bed, I can't go to work. My whole life revolved around that because I couldn't even move my body or nothing, or have the motivation for anything. And honestly, I was super mean whenever I was not on anything and I felt sick. I was even extra mean. And I was with a man, a different relationship. I was with a man, and he was also a heroin addict. So you got two of us. So you got two monsters in one household. And I'm got an expensive habit, and he's just as bad. That was a very, very abusive relationship. Um, got my eye socket broken, um, nose, uh, numerous teeth knocked out. It's just, and a lot of it was over drugs or being sick, and we start fighting or just horrible things. And he never once had to held a like a regular job. His job every day that he would go out and boost or steal. He would steal for a living and support our habit. That's how we survived. he was always in and out of prison. So one of the times he went to prison, um, I finally decided to leave him. Um, I ended up in another relationship, which I thought was good at the beginning until I got to know the real person, and it turned out just as bad as being with him, an abusive type. This one hit me in the head on one occasion with the bat, and I had to get like staples in my head. Like
Yeah.
I was unconscious for like 3 days. It was, these are like really uh, real abusive relationships I was in, and another thing is I don't help the situation because I've got a big mouth and I'll stand up to somebody, even if it's a man and they're beating me, or I'm gonna lose. I know I'm going in this knowing I'm gonna lose. I'm not gonna back down. And a lot of the times it was not the right choice. And maybe sometimes I should have downplayed it. Now that I think about things, but at those times when I'm raging mad like that, that's not a thought in my mind. It's like
Yeah.
a it's like a it's like a it's like a survival mode, and I always felt like I was in survival mode. And
Okay.
I have to talk myself out of that even till this day, because sometimes I'm like, I'm not living like that. It's just something I was so used to. And well, once I finally got out of those relationships, um, I ended up having. Let me reverse a little bit. I got pregnant from the last relationship I was in that was real bad, the real abusive one. I ended up pregnant, and we did not stay together. And I was homeless on the street. He left me homeless on the street, and he wouldn't even give me 32 cents for an ice cup or anything. And I was living real hard, and I knew I could always go to my mom's or somewhere, but they weren't going to accept my lifestyle, and I was a really bad addict at that time, and pregnant, and still using. Like I never stopped, and I was pregnant, and
Hmm.
it, there's so many people that wish they could have children and can't, and I took it. I didn't even. It would never cross my mind. A lot of these things never crossed my mind because I was so just deep into my addiction.
It
And
takes over. Yeah, it wipes out all your rational thought. Like people get
yeah, I and through this, through being homeless and all these things, while I was pregnant, still having an addiction, my dealer, my dope man, um, I want. You would think, I ain't got no money for nothing and all this stuff. And I would go steal. I started doing like what the father of my other kids would do. I would go steal and boost to make a little bit of money to get my dope. And you'd think you're not hungry, you're not going to feed you and your baby that you're pregnant with. No, it was like eat, pay your phone bill or something, or get high. And I was always choosing to get high. Like, are you going to starve today and you're going to be thirsty, or are you going to get high? And I was just getting high and getting high. And my dope man, one day, he told me, he's like, man, he's like, I'm going to help you out. You're not going to need or want for anything anymore. Come work for me. He's like, you're my only customer that doesn't owe me a penny. He's like, I got people that get fronts every day that owe me up into the thousands. He's like, you're homeless and you don't even owe me $20, because I would always pay what I owed. And even if I got something in the morning, it was pay as soon as he gave me what I got. I'd get something in the morning to make it off my feet and get my motivation to get to the store or get out of bed because I was sick. And I would use that first money I'd get, pay him off, and buy more. So I never ever owed him. And so he did take me off the street. I'll give him that. So my dope man got me off the street, and he only had one rule for me, and that one rule was not to go back to the father of my kids, um, the one that was in and out of prison. He's like, don't go back to him because y'all are horrible together. And if you're going to be working for me, I don't need you stealing or drawing attention, which is understandable. And so he automatically, had me working for him. And as the time went by, he started to trust me more. He started to trust me more and more because even though I was still using and an addict, I never once stole from him or did anything wrong in his houses, try to manipulate him or steal any money or belongings. And in addiction, those are just things that come along with it. Sometimes you chill, lie, cheat, scheme, you do all kinds of stuff to get what
Yeah.
you want. I
Fight the
just
inner
didn't.
peace.
Yeah, I didn't. I never did that. Even with my mom, my grandmother, sometimes they would give me their debit cards, like, here, go get you a pack of cigarettes. I can't get the card back though. It's gonna be like a day or two. And I have their whole debit card, but I would never misuse it. So I will say those things in my deep addiction. I never stole from my family, my friends, even the boss man, never. And I'm not going to say that about any stores. Forgive me, poor Walmart at this point. Walmart, the mall. Who knows how much
They'll recover.
Yeah, they'll be fine. But yes, the stores, those they were left in bad state. But family, friends, none of that. And it's so working for this man. Um, I ended up one of his main workers. One of his main workers uh, grew up with my mom and my aunts. They grew up with my family, so they got a little bit of age on me, and he fell in love with me. And I didn't feel the same way towards him, but to me, it was beneficial because he's the boss's best friend, and I had everything I wanted. So I kind of, in a way, I should have never led that man on, but he he fell in love with me and would take care of me. I never needed or wanted for anything, even drugs. As a matter of fact, I was indulged in drugs. I even got surgery one time, and they they sorry.
Okay.
Yes, and they just picked me up from the hospital, like pretty much kidnapped me from the hospital, and were like, "You have all the drugs you need there if you're in pain." So I got taken from the hospital, and they just put me in the recliner. I still had open wounds and stitches, and pretty much here, recover here, help yourself to anything you need if you're in pain. And I never felt that way. I never felt comfortable, and I've never felt comfortable um, with that man. I never had any feelings towards him. Um, it was just all beneficial, and so it was very wrong, and it felt wrong the whole time. I wouldn't even stay in the same room with him. He would sleep in one room, and I'd sleep in another room. And in my head, the whole time, I just was pretty much disgusted. I was just disgusted. Like I didn't want to be in that situation, but I wanted my drugs. I
Yeah.
wanted my drugs, and and I
Yeah.
didn't want to.
That makes sense though in that state of mind and whatnot. I mean, it's being offered to you even overly, so it's just like you know,
Yeah,
um, you knew what you were doing and why you were doing it, but um, he was probably wanting some more,
yeah, and it
than
was not going to
than was
happen.
there. What was the end result of that then? Like, how'd you? Because you're addicted. He's giving you this, and you got all this stuff, and how'd that end?
Well, since he's the boss man's best friend, um, we were both his workers. We both worked for my boss, and so we just kept this little relationship going on. And in his head, I guess he just hung on to it. And he knows he had to have known deep in his head and his heart that I wasn't in it. I wasn't in it for the long run. He had to know because just the way I was. But I don't think he wanted to let that go. And another thing is, I think he kind of might have felt cool because he was so much older than me and I was younger, and that might have been like, oh, I don't want to lose this young one. I'm gonna,
Hmm. I mean,
but
he kind of got off on being dependent on. Like at least he
yeah,
had that.
yeah, and
And he felt like if you needed anything, he was the one to go to.
yes, and uh,
It's
finally,
narcissistic.
yeah,
It's narcissistic.
yeah, and me at the same time, I had my own reasons, and none of them were for him. It was all for myself.
Sure.
Um, but eventually, we got a federal indictment. The
Uh-oh.
the feds were watching us, and one day a we drop off something to a customer, because my I never really ever left the house. My job was, now I could speak about this because I've already done my time. So I'm not in the, nothing I can say or will be used against me because it's already
Right.
been used against me.
It's true.
So,
She's paid.
so
She's paid her dues.
yeah, I already paid my dues. So I'm pretty much running a trap house is what I was doing. I was running the trap house. I'm weighing stuff out. I'm sending stuff out, and I'm not talking about little stuff. I'm talking about big, big, large amounts, very large amounts. So one of the girl, and I never left the house, and I will say that even the federal agents, when they came to kick the doors in and stuff, they didn't have no pictures of me. Everybody's pictures were on their papers. They didn't have no picture of me. I never came out, but they did, have my voice and stuff. But the that day I went with him to go drop off something to somebody because I think we are going to go get some food afterwards or something. So I went with him, and she gives him a letter in the envelope, and just she's like, "Here, go read this in the car or something." So we're like, "What the heck?" I'm like, "What's wrong with her? Is she extra high?" Like, and so we're in the car and we're reading it, and she's telling us that, like, she's a waitress or a bartender or something. She's like at work. There was federal agents there, and I heard them talking to my boss. Either way, in that letter, she said that they were watching us for us to be careful. She was giving us a heads up. So we get on, and so at that point, we already know our phones are tapped and stuff. We're like, okay. So we call our boss, and we're just like, hey, can you meet us over here? Homegirl says she liked you. We're playing it off. We're like, homegirl says she liked you. She wants to see. We're like, and he's like, what? Because we don't ever talk to him like that. He's got a wife and stuff. So he's like, he caught on real quick. He's like, all right, I'll be there.
Hmm.
So we go so we can talk to him in person. We're not going to be talking like that through the phone. And matter of fact, we got rid of those phones very quick. And um, so we meet up with him. We tell him, the feds are watching and this and that. So he's like, all right, let's, get rid of the phones, get new phones. He's like, if you got any, he had already told one of the rules while working with this guy, we have no social media stuff, no emails were getting changed left and right every so often. We'd move houses all the time just for these type of reasons. It was, living out of nothing was ever permanent. We lived somewhere for a little bit, jump around if we felt like we were being watched. So, and these are big things that we're dealing with. So that we live like that for a reason, because we we're looking at a lot of time for what we were doing. So, and my whole reasoning behind even doing these things and putting myself in that situation was all just to feed my habit, just to feed this heroin addiction that I had. I was working, risking my freedom, doing all these things. He needed somebody beat up. He needed somebody to get some money, this, that. Oh, just pay me in some dope. I'll be fine. Just pay me in some dope. Everything was just pay me in dope. And
So it never crossed your mind when when you seen that letter and knew you guys were being watched. It really wasn't a thought to like, oh, we
get
should
out.
probably stop for a while. That's
Nah,
how.
when it,
That's the
yeah,
depths of the addiction.
yeah. And my boss, even him, he would he would be like, just be more careful and do the and we do certain things, and we just switch the phones or do certain stuff. And then
Yeah.
we had a lot of people on payroll, so we did have in law enforcement, different type of people that would, give us a heads up here and there. We
Wow.
have scanners. We had scanners, so we know whenever, like, if somebody were to leave where we were at, we could tell when they're getting pulled over, or we knew stuff was going on because we'd get tipped off. So that's how we stayed afloat for a while. And then, one night it's like 2 or 3 in the morning, and we're going to Denny's. Like I said, I hardly ever leave the house. I'm going to Denny's, and usually there was always somebody tailing one of the drivers, or somebody. There was always somebody watching. Somebody parked down the street, and I would see him right away. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
dumb. I know
Hmm.
you're the feds, and you're right there. So on this certain day, it's like 2 3 in the morning, going to Denny's to get some food, and the road is empty and there's nobody following us or anything, and I just get a feeling, and I look over at the guy that I was with in the car that I was living with, well, my co-defendant, and I tell him, I said, we're gonna get hit, we're gonna get popped or something, there's nobody around us. And he said, calm down, shorty. He's like, maybe it's just a good night. And I'm like thinking in my head, it ain't no good night. Like, I feel it, I felt it in my chest, just like something's not right. So we get our food, we go home, and there's a certain guy knocking crazy on our door at like 7 in the morning, and everybody knows that I'm an angry person. Like, don't ever come bringing that much attention, knocking like that, or even saying my name. And then he didn't even say my name, and everybody calls me by Trip, and he was saying Amber, Amber, and he was saying a certain amount that he wanted from the outside of the door. And I was like, I opened the door so mad, and I was like, get in. He had tacos. He had tacos for me because it was so early in the morning, and he wanted me to give him some. He wanted some dope, so I give it to him and shut the door. He leaves. I didn't even eat the tacos because it was too early. I sat down in the bed, and I guess I dozed off. But I'm a very light sleeper, so I hear everything. Well, I heard some like creaking on the porch, like somebody was standing there. And when I before I could even function, they're banging on the door, talking about uh, Homeland Security, U.S. Marshals, and they're banging, kicking the door. And so I wake up my co-defendant. I go to his side of the area because we don't sleep together. I'm like, hey, we're getting hit. And he's like, oh, shit. So he goes and opens the door, but right when he's opening the door, they're kicking it in. So they just take him out real nice and quietly. And I'm in the room panicking. And at that time, you should be thinking, like, man, I'm about to go to jail. All types of things should be running through your mind. And the only thing that was running through my mind is I'm going to get sick. That's the only thing that ran through my mind, was that I was going to get dope sick. And so I just, I got some of the money, put it in my pockets because I already knew what time it was. So I put about a few $1,000s in my pockets, lit a cigarette, and stuffed my pants with a bunch of Suboxone because I knew I was going to jail. So I they had me on the porch for a lot of hours while they were taking everything out of the house, in and out of the house. And
Wow.
finally, they took me, and they were the whole time they're talking to me, and they're trying to get into my head, trying to get me to talk, and this and that, and telling me things that I've always known the whole time, but because I was far from stupid. So I'm not dumb. I know that my boss had me doing what I was doing because it was easy for him. I was an addict. He could pay me in drugs. He was getting like pretty much free labor. It was just convenient for him. So these cops are trying to tell me, you're just a crack dummy. Nobody cares about you. And I'm just, I'm there listening to it, and that's fine. They could tell me whatever they want at that time.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just, yes, being nice and respectful. So at that, it's hot summer. It's in middle of May. This happened in May, in like 2020. So I'm like smoking cigarettes on the porch, and they're being nice, talking to me. Well, not being nice, but they're trying to get me to talk. So
Yeah.
finally, when they're done, he comes out, and he says, "Are you ready to talk to me?" And I hit the last drag of my cigarette. I turned it out on my chair, and I said, "I want my attorney. Take me to jail. Like, I ain't gonna talk to you." So they too, they're just looking at me like, oh, this little bitch. She didn't smoke like she'd have smoked all the cigarettes and got bottled waters, and she won't talk. Like, no, take me to jail. Y'all got the wrong one, you know. So
Mhm. I mean, and when they get, let me ask this: that would they get you? They take you off. You know, they do the fingerprints, the picture, all that. They probably interrogate you in the room for a while, and they're trying to get your guy. They're not. I mean, they're after you. They're going to take you. They're going to indict you and charge you. But they're trying to get you to look. You know, you can get out in like 6 months, maybe a year. We only got you for possession. Just tell us who your guy is. I'm going to guess that you didn't say nothing.
no, and as a matter of fact, they got us all at one time because when the feds hit, they hit four of our houses at one time. So they hit
Oh,
our house, they hit our house, they hit my boss's house, they hit a rant, they hit four properties at once. So
oh.
they got us all at one time.
So this
They
was a
got us
pretty
all.
big operation in that area, in that city for that time.
Oh yes, it was all over the news. And when I got to jail, everybody already knew me in there.
No, okay. I mean, so when you get into jail and everything, I mean, first off, they found you guilty. You went to prison. I mean, we're gonna know that. How long did they give you? And was it like a full sentence? Like you got it? Like
Uh,
no chance to get out early?
ended up getting a reduced sentence where you get a few points deducted for little things you do. Like um, if you plead guilty, they take off a few points. If you uh, what
Use the
is it?
programs and stuff in there.
Yeah, yes, there's programs and stuff in there. So it goes by a point system because this is federal. This is not like a state charge. This is like the
Gotcha.
United States. Yeah, this is like the United States versus Amber Ramirez. You
What?
know?
So let me ask this. I mean, when you get in there, though, I mean, there's probably some people, female prison. There's probably some people you recognize from the area, the streets. So I don't think you're going in there too. I mean, even though it was your first time in prison, I don't think you were going in there too fearful. You're tough. You've been through it. You had your
Oh
head hit with the bat, so I don't think you were going in there very timid. You probably had a decent amount of people that were favorable to you.
oh
But take us through your first experiences with that and up until when you got released.
well. As soon as I got there, uh, I got put into a it's called like the shoe pretty much. Um, so I'm by myself, but this was a medical. I was in there for medical reasons because I was detoxing severely. So they put me by myself, and I'm detoxing severely. The nurses are trying to come by and help me with Tylenol and giving me an extra mat. I was the meanest person you'll ever meet. I was like, throw the Tylenol at them. I refused their extra mat. Like it was horrible. That was the worst feeling I ever had. I felt like I was coming out of my own skin. It was horrible. And
Ugh.
so that was like my first 2 weeks were like that. And then finally they released me into population. But whenever I got into population, I had a friend in there that I've known since I was like 12 years old. So she knew me and all my kids. As a matter of fact, we partied together a few times. And so she was in there. And then a few other people from the city I'm from. But uh, since it is a federal charge, over here where I'm from in Texas, I'm close to the border. So there's a lot of ICE immigration, and that's considered federal. So they have a lot of ICE people in there. They have tanks, whole tanks of ICE people, people that are immigrants. But these are immigrants from anywhere. Some of them come from even Jamaica. They're a wide range of people. So there's a lot of language barriers in there. A lot of Spanish speaking. Uh, I'm of Hispanic. I'm Hispanic and I'm Native. Both languages I didn't speak. So I didn't speak any native tongue and I don't speak any Spanish. But once coming out of prison now, I'm almost fluent in Spanish. but
Hey,
yeah, but so I went in there with a little bit of help, and so my friend, that she knew that I was still, kind of detoxing because I was only detoxing in that tank alone for 2 weeks, so I was still going through it. So they were helping me out a little because I was weak, and feeding me, and I had my own money and stuff, and I was very well taken care of. My the people I was working for, my family, my dad, everybody was putting me money, so I was not without. And uh, I finally, I started to get better, and once I became myself again, and I wasn't so vulnerable and sick, the real me started to come out again. So I'm in there. I didn't last long. This is a 48-man tank, so that's about the biggest tank in that area. And then there's a bunch of little ones. There's 16s, there's 8s, and then there's the shoe where you're segregated. So I get kicked out of that 48-man tank pretty quick. I did not make it with some of the people in there, and I'm fighting left and right with anybody, everybody. Nobody's going to look at me or tell me anything. And I get moved to a 8-man tank. I didn't last in there with one certain person. Get moved to a different 8-man tank. Didn't last in there. They moved me to a 16. Don't last in there. I went around the whole place.
Just fighting.
And yes, and then I'm doing stuff in there too that's stupid that I shouldn't be doing, like making hooch, which is alcohol, and doing all kinds of stuff just to make my time go by. And
Yeah.
this is just a holding facility where I'm waiting to get to designated to the prison that they're gonna put me in.
Oh.
So finally, I get to the prison that they put me in, which is in Bryan, Texas, and I'm surprised, but they put me in a camp, which is a very low security, and they put people in there. I didn't even understand how I got there, but I didn't question it because it was like a college campus. It was awesome, which you shouldn't say those type of things about prison, but it was an awesome place. And
Compared to what you were expecting, I mean, that was a big charge. You should have been in pretty
yeah,
serious.
I have a whole conspiracy charge with intent to distribute and manufacture large amounts of cocaine. And
Huh.
and so I get sent to this place, and these are people. It like, for example, I was in there with Elizabeth Holmes. I was in there with a few housewives that are from on TV. These are famous people and stuff that are in prison, and one of the Epstein people are there now. It's just that's where they take celebrities and stuff. So I was like, I don't know how I ended up here. Like I didn't question it, but there was a few of us, and my friend, she ended up there too, and we're kind of like, how did we end up here? It was kind of like weird, but we were just like, we ain't gonna say nothing. It's a cakewalk. It's Mickey Mouse prison. This is Mickey Mouse prison right now. So we're like, you know, taking in the moment. And then we ended up getting in trouble, and they take us and we get put in segregation. Well, they call the gang unit. And once they start investigating us, they ship us all out. The gang units take us to Houston. They confirm us. They're like, how did y'all end up over there at that camp? Y'all aren't supposed to be on that compound. I'm like, the United States put us there. Like, I don't know, y'all designated us there. I didn't ask to be put there.
We drove ourselves.
Yeah. So, so pretty much they're questioning us. We're telling us, y'all put us there. So pretty much they weren't paying attention to paperwork. So none of us were ever supposed to be there. Any of us. There was like about 7 of us. And so the gang unit confirms us in Houston. Then we go to Oklahoma, and then they transfer us out. And we all get sent to Alabama. So, I ended up doing the majority of my time in Alabama in a higher security prison.
So this is how you got forced out of Corpus Christi.
Oh yeah, I got forced out and all kinds of stuff. And it was pretty bad. And let me see. I'm gonna take my microphone off so
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and so I end up in Alabama, and I'm not even there for a week. And my friend puts in a room right next door to me. My other friends across. There's a lot of us, and in prison, all of us that were in Alabama, all of us that were from Texas, we pretty much stuck together. So We even had our own little like bird call, and we all knew we were from Texas. And so, something happens, we all stick together. Well, and there's a lot of relationships in prison, lots of relationships. It's crazy in there. So my next door neighbor, which is my friend, she has a girlfriend who's her name is also Amber. And so there's a big fight that breaks out, but my friend is sitting in my room at that time. So this person that wants to fight her comes to my room, and I take that as disrespect. Don't come to my room with any of that drama stuff. So, right away that person gets knocked out and a big old fight breaks out. So it's a huge, like a riot type of fight. They come in, they take us out. So I'm not even there a week, get put into segregation automatically. Finally come out after 3 months, and I'm out for maybe less than a month, get put back in for another 8 months, come back out. I'm just constantly in trouble. I'm just constantly in the shoe. Lived in there. So, sometimes I'd be in there for almost up to a year. It'd be like 8 months, a little bit shy of a year, and I'm just living in there. And my time comes around where I'm supposed to get out, and my date has passed. All my dates keep passing, and the prison that I ended up in was an ugly prison. They're even under investigation and stuff right now because they don't take care of the inmates. There's no medical help. There's all kinds of. It's just a rinky-dink place. And
Where's this at?
This is in Alabama.
Oh, okay. I think
Aliceville.
There might have been a documentary done on this one.
Oh yeah, it was on 60 Seconds or whatever.
There was 10 different prisons. Not to interrupt you, but this has to be one of them. There was a big Netflix documentary where one guy in one prison had a phone, and he coordinated with all these other people in all these other prisons, like 10 of them around like 50, 60-mile radius. And they were describing all these conditions, and they all went on a hunger strike for like 30, 40 days, and it made the news, and they all eventually kind of gave in and whatnot. But the conditions in these prisons that he was showing from the cell phones was, I don't care what crime you commit, you still have to treat humans as humans, period.
Yeah,
it's called a rehabilitation center. And how are you going to rehab when your conditions are worse in prison than when they were on the street? It's just like, I didn't like that. You lose your rights and you commit a crime. I get that, but you got to treat people humanely.
Yes, it was pretty bad. And another thing, it's infested with drugs. So there's like no way of getting away from it because it's everywhere. Cell phones, drugs, it just depends on how you want to do your time. How you're going to use that time. Are you going to use it wisely, or are you going to continue on, and I'm not going to say that I used it completely the right way, because for a while there I was doing stupid things in prison. Now, not any like heroin, like big hard drugs, but I was smoking. I was smoking like synthetic marijuana, which is no good. It's horrible. It's called K2, and it's really bad over here in Texas, really bad. And in the prisons, it's really bad in the prisons because it's so easy to get in there. But my date kept passing and passing, so I would get, I'd get kind of disappointed because I'm like, I'm supposed to be out already. And then they'd call me to the counselor's office or something and be like, we're trying to get you a halfway house date. Well, we're trying to get you a home confinement date. They were always trying to do something. And I never got my date. I'd call my mom.
Take your time. Okay.
I'd call my mom and I'd call my grandma. And I just, I was giving up hope. I was giving up because I felt like I wasn't going to get out,
and it sucked. It sucked real bad. But um, one day I was at, well, let me reverse a little bit. Midway through my sentence, my mom, I called my mom, and my stepdad was real sick, and I would talk, and like I said, I had a hard relationship with him, and he was dying, and he had got surgery and got real sick. I My mom or my sister, one of them, I can't remember who it was, put the phone next to him so that I could talk to him and he could hear me. Um, and I talked to him, and then one day, this is, this isn't good, but I told y'all, I was smoking in prison. And like I said, I do everything real big. I don't just, I'm not just smoking a little piece of anything. I'm going to smoke a lot. And this type of drug takes you somewhere that it's almost indescribable. It's I want to say it's almost like a peyote type of trip where you visions and all kinds of stuff. I I ultimately, had to get medical called on me numerous times for, the last incident I had, I flatlined. It's very, I almost didn't make it out, but that I'll get to that in a little while because that opened my eyes. But on one of these trips I was having, I was laying in my bunk and I was looking up at the ceiling and I could see a small dim light, but I was laying in the dark and I was in my head and I was telling myself, if I stay down in the dark right here, I won't die. But if I go up to that light, I think I'm gonna go. And but through this whole trip, before I could see what was what, before I could see the dim light and the dark, I was I had this whole vision, a whole vision, and I was there with my stepdad and I saw him, and it was like we were dying. We were both dying together. But he was telling me not to be scared, and I was not scared. Like I said, regardless of what we're going through, we had each other's back. He was always there and present. And so after that happened, I had a I'm going through that and I'm trying to tell myself to wake up or get out of, because I could see myself in the corner of the room like an out of body experience. And I'm trying to tell myself like get up or get out of the bed to go turn on the light or go wake up your bunkie to wake up my roommate to help me shake me out of it. But I couldn't. But one of my friends ended up walking into the room as soon as the doors opened at 5:45 in the morning. She came in there like if she was waiting, and she touches my arm and it kind of makes me breathe like I came out of it. And she came in there just to ask me, hey, do you got anything I can smoke? So I took it out of my shirt and I gave her a piece that was probably about as big as my hand. I gave it to her. I said, here, take it. I don't want it. She looked at me like, what? I was like, get it away from me. So she took it happily, skipped out of the room. I was so happy I gave it to her because that cost about $500 right there. So I gave it to her like, here, just get it out of my face.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I was just like, get it out of my face. And from that experience I had, it's like drained all my energy for like a good 2 or 3 days. It drained my energy real bad. And finally, I was able to make it to the phone. I called my mom, and when I called, they told me that my stepdad had passed away. And it kind of took me back a little because in prison, you were never going to catch me crying. And if I did cry, it was where nobody was going to see me. And so when they told me that, I couldn't explain to my mom at the time that I myself had just almost died, but I was with him at the same time, what I had envisioned. Um, and, it was the relationship I had with him, it wasn't, I would say, a love hate, but I never really hated him. You know, like I continue to say, he was always present, showed up, showed out. It doesn't matter who, what, when, where. I know I could call him, and that's all I knew since I was 6 years old. And 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 to be honest, you know, I had more time with him than my sisters that are his biological kids. I had more time with him because I know I was known him since I was 6, and I'm older than them.
Yeah.
And so he was, you know, so it was hard for me. It was hard for me to lose him, and I wasn't there. So it kind of ate at me that I wasn't there to for his services or any of that.
Yeah.
I didn't get to really experience any of that till I came out. I got to see his services on on DVD and all that kind of stuff. But it was that was a hard one for me. It still is, you know. I don't think I fully have comprehended it yet. And so that was my first run with losing somebody in prison, and I always was so scared the whole time I was in prison that I was going to lose my grandma. That was my biggest fear, because my grandma has been like my backbone my whole life. That's my backbone right there. And so I you know, a few months go by, well, not a few months, years, a year or two go by, and I'm still smoking. Well, I have another big experience, and that one was that one ate at me for a while because I couldn't figure out who this person was. But during this experience, wherever I went, there was a circle of people, like holding hands or trying to reach up. I'm not too sure. And I was walking with this girl, and I could only see the side of her and her hair. And I was leading her to these people, and I was telling her it's okay, like if it was safe. But I knew this girl, and I couldn't figure out who she was. And
Oh, man. These pauses come on some cliffhangers. First thing I was thinking of was like, man, that's you're back.
yeah, I wanted to reach that high again because I wanted to figure out who that girl was, because I couldn't figure out who it was. And finally, I kept smoking and trying to reach that high. But like I said, my last encounter, my last episode with smoking is whenever I flatlined. I flatlined in prison, and that was a scary one for me because they almost gave up on me. They were in there and they were using the paddles on me and stuff, but it was like I could still hear, like my brain was still working, and I could hear them, and they were like gonna stop already, and I could hear like a further voice from the door, a different nurse, and she said, "Do it one more time. That's what I need is." And so they did it one more time, and on that last time is when I came back, and that was scary because I could have, I would have never made it home, and they would have just given up on me if she wouldn't have said, try one more time. And that took a lot of energy out of me. It took a lot of energy out of me, and the whole time I was just trying to chase that vision. I wanted to figure out who that girl was, so I kept trying to get high and get back to that place, and I couldn't. So I end up calling home when I get a little bit more energy, and when I call home, my mom tells me, brace yourself for this, and I just started saying no, 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 no. I thought it was going to be my grandma, and I was not prepared for that. And she said it was my aunt, which is her sister, and that aunt is very, very close to me. So at this point, I've lost my stepdad, which is, a big part of my life. And then now it's my aunt, and it all came to me at one time. And I was trying to explain to her and my grandmother. I even drew him a picture in a letter I wrote, trying to explain that I saw her and I was taking her somewhere. So like on these both instances where I've lost somebody, I had seen it. And then I almost passed away. So I started, I was like, okay, that started to bring me a little closer to my faith. I started, okay, Lord. And so I started to pay attention a little more. And I'm at work one day in prison. I was a maintenance worker, and they're calling me on the intercom. And I'm like, I've got a bad attitude already. Y'all done lost my date so many times. I'm still here. So they're calling me to the counselor. And my friend's like, hey, they're calling you. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care. So finally, I end up going after I feel like it. And they're like, hey, Ramirez, you're going home. I said, yeah, I know, one day. They're like, no, you have immediate release. You got 15 minutes. And I was just like, what? So I got immediate release. So I just pretty much went to my room, told everybody y'all could have all my belongings, went to the front in what I was wearing, changed out of my clothes, put on my grays, walked to the front, just took my tablet, because in federal prison you can buy a tablet and headphones and stuff. So I took my tablet with me so I wouldn't be bored on the plane. I even came home with paint still on my stomach and on my leg because I was working maintenance. So when they called me, I only had 15 minutes. And, I had a lot of belongings. In federal prison, you can buy Timberland boots and Nikes and Adidas. You can buy all kinds of stuff in there. And I just gave everything away. I just wanted to come home. And so finally I get home after about 2 days, but I was released on Cinco de Mayo of 2025. And so finally I make it home, and I was staying with my mom for a little bit, and I went to go live with my younger sister, and she's real involved with the church, and she has a wonderful husband too, and he's involved with the church, and they took me to their church. And I was only like 3 days fresh out of prison, and so I'm going into church with wearing some Dickie pants hanging off my waist with a bandana, a jacket, my hair up high. I'm freaking.
Sound like you are.
Yeah, and I'm sitting the way back, and I see some commotion, and my sister's just happy that I'm out and takes me to church, and I sit in the way back, and the pastor's talking, and then there's a little kid in the front, and this kid's no older than 10 years old. And so it's got my attention because I want to know what this little kid's talking to the pastor about. And he gives her the microphone, and she said, I have a message from God, and it's for that lady in the back. So I'm like, who are they talking about? And she's like, that lady right there with the bun. And I have very long hair, so my bun's like this big. So I'm like, oh gosh. And so I stand up, and I'm like, I don't want to be standing up in front of people, I'm kind of like weirded out still about being around people. So I stand up, and she's like, God said that you've been in a trial of waiting, and that it's okay now, and that you're forgiven, and said a few things about my kids. And I've always struggled with talking about my relationship with my kids because I was absent. I was an absent parent over some drugs. And so this little kid that knows nothing about me just like called me out with a message that was God sent, because she does not know anything about me. And
But God did.
and it broke me down. It broke me down, but I appreciate it, and I think, you know, that the Lord sent a child to do it, because I feel like if it was another older woman or something, I might have taken it the wrong way, especially with my guard up so high at that time.
Sure.
And pretty much anytime anybody talks about my kids or anything like that, I just get offensive. Not anymore, but I would. But now that I've talked about it and become have a better relationship with them now, I can easily talk about it. But
Well,
then I couldn't.
let's hold on to this for a second, because God absolutely. I'm sitting here. I've heard this story before a while back, and I knew that it was going to blossom into even a bigger testimony. And I know it was absolutely God that did this, and He knew you so specifically because He created you, that He knew what you were thinking. If this was some mid-30-year-old woman that came up, or a guy or something, it would not have had the effect that He needed it to have. That's why specifically that 10-year-old was used. He could have used the pastor. Why wouldn't you use the pastor of the church? Because God don't move like that. He moves how you need Him to move, and that's why He used that 10-year-old. And so, what kind of impact did that make on you? I mean, in the time you were probably shocked and like, what? But what did that bring about?
I it opened my eyes a lot, and I felt like, okay, this is a direct message from you. I'm hearing you, and I just fully surrendered. I just fully surrendered. I bowed my head, and I allowed myself to be transparent at that moment. And I didn't care. Like, I have a problem with like crying or breaking down in front of people. At that moment, none of that mattered. I just felt like a weight was lifting off my shoulders. The pastor came to pray on me, and you know, it was a lot for him too. So he asked for the women and mothers to come pray on me. You know, I had a whole congregation on me, and I had a whole congregation on me, and
That's not like you either to have that. So that's like, but it was real.
Yeah.
That's real love, real compassion, real care. Not that you haven't felt that from many other people in your life, but that was their only true intention, was to just give you that extra grace and love and encouragement. And
another thing, I'm going to reverse a little bit. While I was in prison, there was a program. It's called the MAT program, where they, for people that were hooked on opiates, they'll give you Suboxone. So I was on this MAT program, and so whenever I left, they said they're going to send my medicine in the mail, because I had left so suddenly. I only had 15 minutes to leave. So they said they're going to send my medicine in the mail. And so I'm sick at home waiting for this Suboxone, and till this day it never got here. So, you know, whatever happened to it, I don't know. So you know, when I'm at church and stuff, I was feeling a little bit sick. So on like my second day out, I called my probation officer and told him, like, hey, my medicine, this or that, it's not here. They gave me a number to call where I have to do drug counseling anyway, part of my probation and stuff. So there's a program over there, and they could give me medicine. So she tells me this program is called STARS. And when I'm at church, after these women are praying on me and I finally sit down, the girl that sits next to me, she's talking to me, and she's telling me, I don't know what happened to you. I don't know where you've been, but she tells me her story. And pretty much, we have a similar background. I don't want to put her business out there.
Sure, no,
we have a similar background and stuff, and she's got so much testimony and such a wonderful hearted woman. But I'm telling her that, you know, I'm a little bit sick right now, and I'm telling her about the program and how they send me to STARS and stuff. And then she looked at me and she said, hey sis, I work at STARS. And it was like the blessings just kept coming, and the signs kept just rolling in, and it was just back to back. ultimately, I just refused the Suboxone treatment. I just didn't want it. Even though it was there at my hands, I was already gone this far without it. Why go backwards? So I just, cold turkey, just didn't want it. And and really after prayer and all that, it never even crossed my mind. Like, I didn't want it. It didn't bother me. I just kept going to church, or kept surrounding myself with positive people and the word, and it got me through. And she helped me out a lot. She's a big she was a very big help to me. My friend from church, her name is Ashra. She I came out of prison with nothing because I just left so quick. And the next day after meeting her, she came and she brought me so much clothes, shoes, just everything. Give me a ride to church. She showed me a lot, and she encouraged me a lot. She still does. I still, I see her at church. I talked to her last Sunday. She gave me a ride home, and that's a wonderful, godly woman. And her daughter is in my son's classes and stuff. So she's a wonderful woman, very good friend to have, very good person to have on your side. And I told her last time, I was like, you're a part of my testimony. You're a part of it. Because she opened my eyes a lot. She always has something positive to say, even if she's going through something. She's got a strong heart, strong faith, and very good woman.
She's somebody you can relate to too, because somewhat of a similar background and whatnot. So she was walking the walk and talking the talks. It's not, you can encourage people, and that's always great, but she kind of had been where you'd been. So right there, you build a connection and a respect for trust, which is not easy for you to do. It never really was. And then coming out of where you came out of, God did a tremendous amount of work on you in a very quick time.
Absolutely. And, coming out of all this and still part of the church, I'm now a full member at this church. I felt, after continuing and going there, after all these things that happened, and being able to be transparent with these people, it became like a family. And so they're non-judgmental. Come as you are. Some people in there are just straight hippies walking in there without shoes, just no judgment. We love them all. They're all my brothers, they're all my sisters. I love every single one of them. And so that's where I feel comfortable there. And coming out of prison, my first thing was, I need to get a job, a real job, not selling drugs.
Amen.
So I started looking for work. I ended up finding a job. That was working out for me for a while. I was living with my sister, my younger sister, and her husband, and working. Finally, I ended up moving out. Well, reverse a little bit. I ended up meeting somebody at my work. They're a cook. I was a cashier, and so we ended up in a relationship. And I'm not disrespectful, and I will never disrespect my sister, my family's houses. So, never bring anybody into the house, especially like a man. So we ended up getting our own place and moved in together, but I never took him to my sister's or anything like that ever. We moved in together. Then, I introduced him to my mom, and they love him and accepted him. My whole family loves him and accepts him. And my mom has never let anybody into her house, including, the father of my other kids. They can't stand him, they never. And, so we stayed with my mom for a little bit, and that was kind of crazy because I wasn't used to that either. But she loves him, and we got engaged. I got engaged. And in December, I found out I was pregnant. and I'm due in August with a little girl. And just
Mm-hmm.
on May 12th, we went and got our marriage license.
Congratulations.
So, yes, so the blessings have just kept coming and pouring out. And like I mentioned earlier, my past relationships were horrible compared, what I where I'm at now. Like the person I'm with now doesn't even call me out of my name. Doesn't sometimes it's hard for me to. I don't even know how to act sometimes, and I like I mentioned last time on one of our meetings. My hormones are crazy sometimes, and I'm pregnant, and I'm just hot headed. So sometimes I'm a super bitch. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a super bitch, and he doesn't deserve it sometimes, but he puts up with me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but
That's a good guy there, and it can
yeah,
go. It goes both ways sometimes too. But um,
yeah,
he loves you for who you are today,
yeah, yeah.
and who God's leading you to become as well. I mean, this is still early on, but your best years are starting right now and ahead of you. And
Absolutely.
congratulations on that, on having this baby girl that's going to be here in August. We can't wait to see some pictures, hopefully. Um, Go ahead, sis. I'm excited for you, and I'm glad to know you. You came and kind of introduced yourself to us, GBR, Deb, over about a year ago, and Deb's a good judge of character. She likes you right from the get go. You were open and honest and transparent with us. It was pretty soon after you gotten released. It wasn't too long after that, and
No, yeah, no, right away. That was my home. That was my home base right there. That was one of the first places I connected to. Even before, I think it might have been even before my church that I started going to the God based recovery. I was doing that on my own there at my house and came across, and I, I've even spread the word to a lot of my friends, family, even the father of my children. I have, invited them into the meetings. Even one of them that is still lost, the one that I said is always in and out of prison and stuff. I have also invited him into a meeting. You
we'd
know,
love to have them.
yeah,
It's a good place to be. I mean, we're the same people every time to everybody. We don't judge. I mean, it's easier said than done, but I think over these last 2 years, it's proven itself, and we love everybody we meet, and some have come and some have gone, but our doors are always open. They can pop in at any time, and we would pick up loving them right where we left off. So
absolutely. Yep.
there's
And
no other way to do it.
yep. So, I left off earlier that I was at like 4 kids, and then I had another one after that. I've had a few more after that. I'm on number 9 right now. So
Well,
I'm on number 9. I'm
yeah.
on number 9, but my two of my oldest 4, my daughter Jada and my son Jacob, they are expecting children in December. So I'm pregnant with my daughter and my son with his girlfriend. So we're all expecting children here.
Praise God.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing.
Wow. Yes, beautiful. And my daughter just graduated Thursday. I was very proud of that. I wasn't able to be here when my 2 older boys graduated because I was in prison. So this was my first graduation. I was able to see my kids walk the stage, and it was amazing. I can't wait to see the next one next year and my sister next year. But yeah, it was a great feeling that I got to finally be there for one of these graduations, because it ate at me a lot. A lot of things that milestones that you miss out with your kids, it eats at you. And it's therapeutic to talk about it. That's why I'm able to talk about it now, and I can share things and be
Yeah.
transparent with anybody. And I like to spread my testimony like wildfire, because it's therapeutic. It's and nothing can be used against me because I'm speaking of it. So, the enemy can't use that against me because I'm already speaking it. What are you going to hold against me when I'm already letting it out?
Right. And if he tries anything, you can just flip that devil right onto a doggy fence. He'll get it too. Don't
Yep.
get slick. Don't get slick, devil. She still got that fire in her.
Yep.
It just burns a little bit brighter and differently these days. And for more just causes. I mean, God will provide so much more. I mean, yeah, there's things we lose and we throw away, we risk, we destroy. We're not taking care of ourselves. Addiction becomes our whole identity and existence. But when God willing, we get brought out of that and surrender and try to get as close to God as possible. There's so many things that He'll bring back into our lives to not necessarily replace what we missed or whatever, but He gives us so much more than we could really even say we deserve. Honestly, you know what I mean? But that's the beauty of it. That's why His grace is sufficient. We can't out sin God's grace. There's nothing you did that made Him love you any less. Otherwise, He wouldn't have sent that message to that 10-year-old that day.
Absolutely.
So, wipe clean.
Yep. And I did, after that, I laid it all at His feet. I laid everything down, and I just fully surrendered. And I've never really, never looked back. I just keep going forward. And since then I've been baptized, and I just, I died of the flesh, and that's what I needed. I needed to let that go, and I've never felt any better. That dead weight that was on me was lifted, and it was a great feeling. My sister and my brother-in-law are the ones that baptized me.
Oh, wow.
And I'm here. I live close to the beach, so we did it at the beach, and it was real beautiful. And my sister, she's a great woman, and she's younger than me, but I look up to her because they have such a strong faith. Her and her husband, they're young, but they're mature in their faith. And it's I love my sisters and my other sisters. I have 3 sisters. I love them to death. Those are my babies. I love them. I love those little girls to death.
I think I believe I saw a few pictures that you posted back on that baptism at the beach. It was beautiful.
Yes.
Real, sincere. Man, sis, you don't got to go back to none of that old life. It's all behind you. It's now used as God's glory because you're using it in this story, in this testimony. None of that was really wasted for God to be able to use to set you free, to influence and impact and inspire other people. And that's what these testimonies are all about. That's what they're all about.
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't, talked about that you want to leave us with, and anything else you want to share with people? And I always ask guests to pray us out at the end if you want to, but that's all the questions I got. But if there's anything else that you think you want to share with us, please feel free.
No, I think that about covers most of the highlights of my life. There's probably a lot of stuff that I left out because I am scatterbrained. I jump around a lot, but and I have a hard time. I have a hard time multitasking. So my brain and mouth don't work together sometimes. So, but pretty much that covers most of it. Those are some of the big things in my life that got me to where I am now. But I always enjoyed sharing my testimony with others, and I really enjoyed this group. It's like whenever I come in here or to a meeting, I could be myself, and I'm a little rough around the edges, so you're always going to get some raw and uncut type of stuff with me. and and I just I love hearing everybody else's stories, because there's a lot of people like that in the group,
Yeah.
that suffer with some of the, we some of us have some anger issues, and so our stories will relate. And I love hearing people's opinions and stories, feedback. I enjoy it.
And it's all real from the heart. It's from lived real experiences. To come in there and see somebody, hear somebody you never knew existed, and they're telling some stuff that you're like, that's kind of the life I was living. It just sets you freer, but brings you closer. It's kind of hard to describe. You couldn't go out and try to make that happen. You know what I mean? And I love it. If you were anybody else in these meetings, it would be weird. We just want you to be who you are on whatever day you come in. There might be days you come in goofy. There might be days you come in a little upset or mad. Come in as you're feeling, because otherwise it doesn't work the same. So we love the rough around the edges. I mean, that's real.
Absolutely.
And we love the heck out of you. We respect you so much. We can't wait to see this baby girl. Give our best to the hubby. He landed a good one, and it sounds like you did as well. We wish nothing. Well, we don't wish. We pray. We pray for nothing but the best for you guys. Your best years are ahead of you. Enjoy every moment you have. We couldn't thank you enough. Would you care to pray us out?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Lord, I ask that you look over each and every one of us. I pray that you give us strength in any difficulties that we're going through in our life, any obstacles, that they will be overcome. I pray to the next person, the newcomer, anybody, that they have that burning desire to get to have that intimate relationship with you as you have done in me. I pray for the next addict, the next person in any type of relationship, any troubles they're having in their life, that they overcome, that they find you, Lord, in their darkness, that you are their light. I pray that you are their strength and you guide them. I pray that this group, this family increases. I pray that everybody reaches out, help one another, my brothers, my sisters. And I thank you for the blessings that you have brought in my path in my life. And I pray that you continue to bless me and everybody else in this family, in this group. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Beautiful. Sister, what a story. And yeah, you'll get off here and think about some stuff that you could have added and put in, but you got out exactly what I think God wanted you to get out, man. And we appreciate it. I feel closer to you. You're my sis, and got nothing but respect for you. Nothing but blessings and provisions and protection for you, your family, your friends, that whole community. We're proud of you. We love you, and we'll stay in contact. Hopefully, we'll see you again soon. This has been Amber Ramirez trip to her friends and family. She is off the spot. Great job. Thank you so much, sis.
Absolutely.
We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. I'll see y'all in the meeting.
Yep, you bet.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.